Oh, that took a very long time to go live then. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be in the world. StreamYard has changed a few things again, and I'm now nervous. For us that are here, this is supposed to be a link that's going to stay the same. So we'll see if this happens next week. And there was an intro thing. So it looks like I've got to set up an intro. Well, now what's happened to the comments? The live comments have disappeared. Aye, aye. Well, here we are then. Oh, there's a private one. What's this? Oh yes, all right. There we are. They're back. Hello, Johnny. Hello, Mitchell. Hello, Rev. No, so obviously it took away the ones that were there before we started, and it's buggy on certain browsers. So yeah, I think that's definitely the case. Well, where I wanted to lead really before we get into, it's been a very, very interesting FOIA time, but it's also been a super interesting DGI time, hasn't it? So let's share. So first we started with this customs letter. There it is there, and we wrote about that, and I wasn't sure it was true, but it was true, and lots of people told me it was true. And then that jumped to DGI saying, hey, no, that's not right. Leave us alone. And the most interesting thing I thought about that, you probably can't read it, but it says companies where our company is headquartered, all of our manufacturers based in Shenzhen, where our company is headquartered, or Malaysia. Now, I think that's the first confirmation that it's their factory in Malaysia. That would be doing the green ones, and that I can't even remember the names of them both now. Spectre, that's it. The white ones, that's it.
Always think James Bond. Always think James Bond.
Okay. But I think I'm right in saying that is the first mention from DJI that it's their factory. So we'll keep an eye on that, because that's obviously not gonna help them moving forward. And then, of course, the big one that's happened is, do you like the use of the parachute? I thought because this was I think this is a really bold move from DJI to have a go at the Americans. A really, really, really bold move, and perhaps it's going to solve this whole conundrum once and for all, because it's going to make stuff come out in court, isn't it? And
I think they've got nothing to lose now. I think they've got nothing. I think they have to come out with, dare I say, all guns blazing, and something like this is just, it's they've got nothing to lose. So let's just put everything. Let's put all the cards on the table and just go for it.
Yeah. Well, it might be the last roll of the dice, and they probably realise that it's ticking down for them over there. I'm surprised that this customs thing came through as being the way of doing it, I must admit. And obviously, after a couple of weeks' time, the election will be over there, and they'll be able to move. The American government will move with decisions one way or another. But I should think all of this is on pause at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I was just that's just what I was going to say there. That obviously that I think that the timing of that article, or not the article, but obviously their move, the timing of their move right now is quite, in a way, is quite strategic, because not much is going to happen. Politics pretty much die, and it will, there won't be any response to it, in a way, which will show weakness, which will show weakness on the American Senate side. So I think it's quite a strategic move, and I think everything that happens now is just a game of chess.
And I certainly know there's things are being held up if you've got larger commercial drones, and it's a lot of the thermal stuff. But perhaps they're shipping an awful lot of the thermal stuff to elsewhere, and perhaps they don't actually have the stock. And it'd be very handy to say, "Oh, it's all been it's all been caught up in customs.
Funnily enough, I have heard from the main enterprise distributor here in Finland, and they have said the same thing: is that the thermal, the thermal units are very hard to get hold of. They're very difficult to get hold of. They are actually the best selling, and they cannot keep up with the demand. And that was about 4 months ago.
Yeah, I'm sure Ukraine is soaking up, and several production lines of them. It's the number one thing you'd want, isn't it? And they're selling to both sides. And Mitchell's saying the problem is we don't already know the truth. The validation just isn't publicly released by the US government. Yeah, that's right. And it's actually Australians as well. And then interestingly, to this subject, the Chinese are having a pop at Skydio, and the others, they're going the other way on October the 10th. So who are the companies? Edge Autonomy, Huntington Ingalls, and Skydio, and then various people. So, it works both ways. And tit for tat stuff. So just very, very interesting. Very, very interesting what's going on with DJI.
Didn't you have the scoop on that DJI? The letter. I think you had the scoop on that. I didn't see it anywhere else on your site first. I think you had.
I might have done. I don't know. I don't know.
You did. I think you did.
Well, that's lucky. That's very lucky.
No. I don't know. I just happened to notice that because when I read it, and then I was looking at others. I didn't see it, and then it started appearing on other sites. About 4 hours later, it started appearing on other sites. Well,
yes. Yes, yeah.
Who's counting?
Yeah, I know. It's never. Excuse me. It never seems to be an advantage to get things up first. But there we are. Yeah, no, I got that. I was quite surprised that fell into my lap. But there we are. That's these things arrive. Stuff arrives. And I'm never quite sure. Now, all right. So that's the DJI thing. That's going to sort itself out. But other than that, I don't think an awful lot's been happening. Maybe by let's see. 5:30. Yeah, I'll buy I'll buy one just to test the just to test. Goodness me, aren't they about $5,000 or something? Kevin has pointed out a lot of stuff, and the thing he pointed out very quickly was them saying there were nothing to do with the military, and yet it's the big military gig in China's just over the fence from the factory. It's like, nothing to do with them, and because DJI are arguing that it's a similar Chinese names. It's all the wrong people that have been picked out and all that sort of thing. It's just have to have similar names. Like, okay. But I think there's a money trail with that has been long uncovered. So I think that will be quite an easy one to prove. Now, let's jump away from those, and I want to go to how are we going to talk about these freedom of information things, Ian? How are we going to do it?
Start off with the Home Office one, because that got answered, didn't it? This one we've talked about before.
That's
a second link down.
Awesome. The second link down.
Yeah.
A batch of email. Dan, yes, the Dan one. The Dan one. It. All right. Okay.
Dan the man.
Dan the man. All right.
This one demonstrates why the freedom of information, and just the way it's abused, especially around Gatwick, and honestly, I think sometimes they're just having a laugh at other end. It's for giggles. So this one was to the Home Office, just asking for a specific staff member of the DFT senior that was managing the Gatwick incident, and he pinged on some emails to the Home Office. So I just simply asked, can I just have the titles and the date? So I didn't even have to see the whole email. So it should have been straightforward. This should have been done within 20 days, to be quite frank. But they've dragged it out for, if you scroll down a bit, Gary, and we'll have a look. They've dragged it out unnecessarily for 5 months. So it's been backwards. They've just basically stopped even replying to me at one point. And then they were arguing that we're going to have to do a public interest test. The public interest test is never a public interest test. It's will it embarrass us test. So I don't even know why they had to do it on this, because it's only email titles and timestamps. The chances that an email title is going to have something so fundamental in it, it would be a matter of public interest for the UK to consider. Just seems a very long stretch. But basically what happened is they just kept messing about. So I went to the Information Commissioner. We wrote them a letter. We discussed it on the show 2 weeks ago. The ICO gave them exactly 10 working days. And what happens? Exactly 15 minutes before the 10 working days had elapsed, they sent the reply. Didn't even bother applying the public interest test, because obviously it was just a load of nonsense to, frankly, dick me about and have a bit of a laugh. And yeah, they've given us the titles. So, I mean, you can always click out a Garrett show people. I don't know if there'll be anything really interesting in there. We don't already know, but
do you mind if I put up the titles in? I can. I have got them here ready to go.
Yeah. There's no reason why not.
This one here. Well, I think you say it's not very interesting, but it is, because we learn titles, and that was officer sensitive, wasn't it? What was it? Not
offset, official sensitive, isn't it?
Official sensitive, yeah, as their official sensitive at the top. But and then licensing of CUAV, counter US jammers. That's interesting.
Yeah, so, I think that'll be what we know already.
Tiddly details.
Yeah, I put in that
tiddly details.
Yeah, they'll try and knock that back, but we already know, because the DFT accidentally put it out, that there was Night Fighter jammer in use. So I suspect it'll be talking about that. So I said, if it's to do with Night Fighter, we already know about it. Don't be redacting that, because it's already in the public domain. But we shall see.
And I think it's also interesting that it goes instant actions to start with, and then it says suspected deliberate drone disruption. So that's the 27th to the 12th.
Yeah, right at the end of it.
Yeah. So they've used the wording suspected. So they're not sure themselves then. And then it's in those little minute details, isn't it, that we'll find the truth.
Yeah, the only thing that was a bit concerning with this, they said they'd applied a Section 40 exemption to some emails. Now, we can't see any redactions here at all, which makes me worry that they've taken out entirely some emails, not put the timestamps in or shown us how many they've removed. So I've queried that, because obviously that'd be naughtiness, and I would have to then pursue that. You know, if for example someone's name was in here, fine, redact it out, but there shouldn't be any emails completely vanishing. So I just need to query that. So it doesn't look a great deal of emails to say, this is the head of the sort of managing the incident from the DFT, speaking to the Home Office and keeping them in the loop. So I've asked the question anyway. We shall see what comes of it. I mean, we've already seen it with the pictures that we've got, but we only saw the two emails, the one that sent the picture, one that sent the video. So I would actually be interested to see that email there, to see if there's any bit of a discussion around it, because we've only seen the discussion that Dan at the DFT had when he said, not great. He wasn't impressed, and it'll just be interesting to see if any other people had chipped in and said likewise. So there still might be something that comes out of here that's a little bit interesting. So, given it's a small number, I've requested these, and there'll be no messing about. If they try and push back or whatever, it'll be straight to the ICO in that again. We've got the worry coming up that it's the 6th anniversary, and
that's exactly what I wanted to. What I wanted to get you to unpack for people, the importance of 6 years.
Yeah, I suspect possibly that, like for here, we've been messed about for 5 months. Part of this could all be deliberate of trying to push it back to try and get past the 6 years, and then you can start deleting stuff and say, well, we don't have to keep it for longer. But once it's been requested for the freedom of information, so if I've asked, like I've asked for these emails now, they cannot delete them until we've completed the process. If you do, you're committing a criminal offence. So once you've asked, you've got to keep them, no matter how long it drags on for.
Is there anything that you haven't requested that you might need to request, or that you're not 100% aware of, that you need to get in there before?
There might be one or two things that actually would be nice to have that I haven't asked for. So I might need to do a kind of a final pass over stuff and think, you know what, I better ask now, because if I don't, I'll never get it. So yeah, you make a good point, and it is worth me going back over and double checking. Because the thing that annoys me with this is, and this is what I brought up actually, which we'll talk about in a minute with the tribunal case, is it's just been unreasonable treatment, especially by the DFT, where if I try and ask for more than a couple of emails, they'll say, boom, cost, you're not having them. And it's nonsense, because I noticed there was a journalist today that's Suella Braverman has sent some emails home to herself, I think about 120 odd, and he's asked for them all. So how comes someone can ask for 120 odd emails and that's fine and dandy and they can get them? And if suddenly it's the Gatwick drone and I'm trying to ask for, more than two, I'm suddenly the whole world's falling down and everyone's fighting it. It's really, really bizarre, really.
I think we know the answer to that question.
Yes, what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's the topic. But yeah, that's a frustration for me, that.
If our dear viewers have some thoughts on questions, please add them in the comments. But you can see, look, there's the 27th of the 12th, 2018. 20th of 12th, 24th. What's the earliest one? 20th of the 12th. That's the go back to date. Why aren't there any before that? Why? Yeah, why aren't there any before?
The 19th was the evening, so probably at that point not everyone's got involved. They would have all kicked off the morning afterwards when they believe this is an ongoing thing, won't it?
So yeah, because of course they're not laid out in proper time order there either, are they? Jumping to the 24th.
It's all a bit random, isn't it? It might be sorted by a title or something.
Yeah. So you can see the dates that Ian's got to work to if the 6-year thing happens. But of course we've spoken about it now. So if any of these were to disappear, it'd be very, very, very naughty, wouldn't it? Because we've spoken about it on live. You've seen all the titles, dear viewer, and hopefully we'll get to see them. But let's. And I'm intrigued with the language that it's used in all around it. Right, shall we go to the other one then?
Yes.
This one here. This one, eh?
Yeah. So this is the one where, funnily enough, this led to that one that we were looking at. I was hoping those emails that were with the Home Office would have included these ones, because there was the one about the cyber matters, which is, was there any tomfoolery of systems going down at the same time or not? And there was a Horse Hill photo at the end of the incidents of a drone, which I think is that broken drone they found that they ruled out. But really, we don't. Given that hasn't been shown, again, that's very suspicious. Why not just show stuff that you found, unless it's quite embarrassing? So I want to see that email and photo. But when we got to the point where the DFT have said these have got deleted, the ICO ruled in their favour, so I've had to go to tribunal, and I got the reply back today, so that's got a reference now, and that will go to court between February and April next year, so it just depends how long it drags on for. So at the moment, it's me versus the ICO. The DFT been invited to join in as well, so they can bring their legal team along and join the fun and games and further expense for the taxpayer. But we will see what they say. But I put together what I think's a good case on it. I know for a fact they can get the emails out of the archive. I shouldn't even be having to go through this. Every single email that I've asked for, because I only picked out, about 4 or 5 again. There was 100 and odd, and really I should be able to ask for the whole 100 and odd, really. But just for the sake of a quiet life, I asked for a small amount for the ones I thought looked most important. But as we can see, I still get this messed about, over what will end up probably being years by the time that we get to the very end of it. But yeah, it's just frustrating. I've had to put together again pages. I've documented stuff all back in time through DFT behaviours where they've done poor behaviours that are not in keeping with the freedom of information. I brought up the Drone X as well. That's in there saying that potentially they've been involved in a complaint to stop me speaking, which that's getting into the bounds of it's definitely you're not applicant and subject blind if you're stepping out the bounds for freedom of information to stop somebody talking about freedom of information. So that's all in there for the judge to consider. And depending how nasty they are to me, I've got stuff there on the back burner. The more they throw at me, the more I'll throw back. And, I can throw some bigger rocks and I'm not in a glass house. So it could get very interesting depending how the DFT push this. So, but yeah, I'm game for it. There's stuff in there already. I'm actually going to ask Philip Rouse, or I need to get to someone from the. In fact, I can ask you as well, Gary. Again, last time we were doing the tribunal, I got about 10 people from inside and outside the drone industry to do like a reference for myself, just because what they'll try and do is they'll try and the tactics for the solicitors that will be to try and attack me and credibility and all that. So it just helps to have those backup things. And I bet I can't just say, can you just look at the letters I've already sent you? I bet it's not that easy. So I might just get a couple. I don't want to ask everyone again because it's taking everyone's time and it seems unfair. But I thought if I get a couple and just put those in with it as well, so that I've got a little bit of additional bits of clout in there. But other than that, the paperwork's in.
I'm trying to find because Philip asked Drone X, hey, or said to Drone X, hey, what's going on, didn't he? I can't find it. I can't find it. Which account did he because he asked Drone X why you
he did that on Cube Pilot account.
Oh, did he?
I think so.
That'll be it then. That'll be why. That'll be it. Let's have a look.
Well, while you're looking at, I'll just tell the viewers so that they're up to date. But Philip has written in a complaint of sorts into Drone X about what's going on, trying to get to the bottom of it. So I'm now involved in that as well.
I can't find it.
I was CC. So I've replied as well because, but basically the narrative is, and we obviously all know it's bullshit, but the narrative is my LinkedIn post. It was all my fault for doing a LinkedIn post, and the way it was worded, which is nonsense anyway. Because the moment that tried to be brought up, I just edited it anyway. So it was like big deal. So I really think it's actually been a vexatious complaint from somebody likely within the DFT, and that's kind of spurred a few other people on to go and put in the same complaint and then just tried to close it down that way. I did actually put freedom of information into the Department for Transport on the same day that the complaint had gone in. I just did a day or two either side of it and said, are there any emails talking about me? And they're like, yes, there were. And then they're like, can I see them? And they went, commercial confidentiality. So yeah, there's an exemption trying to be used to stop me seeing the emails that are talking about me. The Department of Transport shouldn't be doing emails talking about me. So the very fact they are suggests that they were involved. They're very much looking like they're involved in that tomfoolery. So things will come out in the wash. I mean, ultimately, I could put a subject access request in against Drone X, but I'd rather kind of not drag them any more into it because I think I think they're, along with everyone else, slightly victims in all of this. So I'd rather, get it from the authorities and see what went on that way. So I'm trying to get it that way for subject access requests. Oh, which also brings me on to another thing which has happened this week. I'm just kicking it all off now because we're going up to the 6th anniversary. It's brought, it's like let's go for it because next year is like the last year.
But we need to have a sixth anniversson show that
Yes.
on the evening on the
Hang on,
evening.
Let's see when. What was the first date again? It was
You'll be the 19th, won't you, of December?
Yeah,
it's a Thursday. It's a Thursday.
Well, why not? Have a special.
Why not?
Have a special.
Why not?
6th anniversary.
Everybody bring a beer.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been in discussions backwards and forwards from the last monarchy dealing all around aeroscope and all that nonsense with Sussex Police that I was having to deal with them through their solicitor, and I was trying to wrap it all up nicely and said, look, some of these emails that I've seen, I don't really know why I'd copied in. It must have been a legal thing. It had to when showing them to the judge, but I'd seen the emails, and I could basically they're discussing the tactics on freedom of information and discussing the Gatwick drone in a certain way, which I just thought would be very interesting to the public. So I asked for permission to put those out, and it's like, well, they're like, well, you put this officers' names in there, whatever, we'll need to redact it. But I even went to the trouble. I did all the redactions, so I only want these few pages. So that, there's dozens of pages, and I only picked out 3 or 4. And I did all the redactions, so it wouldn't have cost Sussex Police a single penny. And said, can I just put them out? And then they just ignored me. So I put in a subject access request in the start of the year. So they'll have to give me every single email, every single bit of data on me going back a year anyway, which is going to cost them more money. So to me, it's just daft, because I did say at the outset, I said, I'm asking you nicely now, and I'll even do all this, and it's all cool. Or if not, I can just do a subject access request anyway. So that's what I've done. So hopefully I can get the emails that way, and then I can put those out in the public domain, and it gives people just another little insight into what's gone on in all this toing and froing that we've had over the last few years. But yeah, this year into next, I think it's the time to have a bit of fun with it and just push all the buttons that can be pushed to get the last bits of information we can out, and then after that, there's not much we can do. We've done what we can do, but at least we've got a lot better view of it now. And that was shown this week by Mark Wingard, because he did a post on a commercial group where he just got into ChatGPT and said, how has freedom of information affected the Gatwick drone narrative? And it spewed out a load of stuff. And so it was actually aware of what had gone on and how it had sort of changed, it sort of changed the understanding of that incident versus when it had just started, and all we had was the newspaper reports at the start. So, and we might as well, I mean, definitely with what's gone on with Joe Next and that, there's definitely a lot more interest around it now. So there's like people been asking, oh, can you do a podcast, or can you do this and whatnot? So I think little bits of it will trickle out there into the public domain a bit more so now, and it can only be a good thing. I think it's just unfortunate we even still have to be doing that these days. It should have been down to the DFT and that to just come clean and just draw a line under it all, let everybody move on. Unfortunately, we're not there.
And the amount of stuff you've had to learn. Sorry, Stephen, after you.
But I do agree. I mean, but the amount of information that he's had to gather and learn and persevere with, but still the stigma that will continue for years to come with the headlines drone and Gatwick, it will always have a negative, and and I'm sorry to say, it doesn't matter how much work, it doesn't matter how much you prove, the stigma will always be attached to the negative, for the very basic person who doesn't have a good understanding and stuff. And that's the shame here as well, because that negativity will last, And of course there will, the truth will come out of, obviously, and a lot of people will know that, but there's still that small amount of and that will have an effect, So it's a real shame.
The damage is done. You can't put the
Yeah.
genie back in the bottle.
For me, it's been a win that counter drone companies just stopped trying to use it, which you do get less of these days. It's not eradicated though. There's always some chance, especially when it's a new company that comes along. They have to bring it up, and it's like, come on. If you, to me, you haven't got a counter drone that you can sell convincingly. If that's your only narrative you can come up with, you should be able to be selling on what your system can do, and not even have to jump back to that. It should just be our kit's cool because, and look what it does. I'm proving it with something other than an Inspire and a Phantom, which seems the one they seem to go for.
Yeah. The other thing, well, it won't overtake the public's conscience really, but it's the Lilium thing, because that's also that's going pop. They didn't. Can't remember if we spoke about it last week, but they didn't get their 100 million investment, and they're toast. They've had it, and that's going to turn into, mark my words, that's going to be another Netflix documentary, and that's going to turn into what a tech fraud it was. 1.5 billion. I think it's either euros. I think it might have been dollars. I think it's euros. Over 1.5 billion spent, gone through, and nothing to show for it. No crewed aircraft, nothing.
I think they've been deleting tweets as well, because Brendan had quoted a tweet, and I'm sure it was from Lilium's account. And then I went back and looked today, and it had gone on. Again, that's one of those things thinking, damn, you should just back everything up that you see, because suddenly it can just vanish. Yeah. And I thought, oh, that's a bit odd.
Yeah. Does the Wayback Machine not record these things?
It does if you specifically put it in, but there's so much on Twitter it won't do it automatically. But if you see a tweet and put it in the Wayback Machine, then right. Yes, then it stays. But and obviously, if I see something that I think's at risk of going, I put it in there. But with that, well, when a company puts it out, you assume that they've thought about that long and hard, and it'll probably be staying. But yeah, that's one thing to think. But once a company's on the things looking a bit rocky, it's probably worth backing up a few, because some of them, maybe the social media guy's getting ahead of himself with stuff he's putting out without checking.
Yeah, well then, look, this here is a brilliant aerodynamicist talking about that. That whole Lilium thing for years since it came out. When it first came out, we said what nonsense it was, and I can't think of the words to put on it, but it's just talking with confidence, isn't it, in a VC manner, and just moving forward in if people will seemingly believe anything. But electric ducted fans for a VTOL, come on! You need your own. You need a cable to a nuclear power station to make the thing fly. It was just never ever going to work. And then the misspeak. What's that? George Orwell thing. It's not misspeak, isn't it? Think speak or whatever it is, of calling it a jet, an electric jet. Well, it's a jet of air, so technically it's true, but electric jet takes you straight to, oh wow, that's gonna be really cool. They can fly like a jet, but it's electric. Well, no, it's a bloody EDF. And anyone that's flown a model aeroplane knows that they're just good for converting electrons into noise. Really, they're not really much better than that. And it's like, rah. But anyway, I've ranted enough. What other stories have we seen? There you go.
There's one that's slightly off topic, but John mentions in there, which did almost make me cry. The some hackers, and the hackers generally. It's funny when you see hackers that actually but the hacking community goes, God, those guys are gits. We hate them. They went and attacked the Wayback Machine, which everyone's like, well, why would we down that? That's a force for good. So that was hacked and taken down. And obviously, then I'm thinking, that for me annoyed me, because the Gatwick stuff's backed up there anyway. I mean, obviously I've got screenshots of that anyway, but the Wayback Machine's the better source. Journalists know it's credible and that, and you can't doctor anything. But they didn't have anything lost, and they restored it back. So I even went back and checked stuff, so everything's back and it's there. But yeah, at the minute you can't add stuff to it, so they've still got a few issues they're trying to fix. But yeah, unfortunately, that was just a bit of wanton vandalism on one of the positive little things that the internet has. But it shows us there's always somebody there that for thinking the cool is willing to just take a hammer to something and break it.
Yeah. Well, Andrew, yeah, the F-35 does have a ducted fan behind the pilot's head, but it's a little bit more powerful, isn't it? It's similar. You could say that the Harrier had similar, I suppose, but not. But yeah, it's a little bit different. Yeah, we can't have nice things. FX knows. So yeah, there's really not a lot else happened. Well, of course, the 10,000 drones that was between now and last show, wasn't it? That was quite an amazing thing in China.
Yeah.
You're supposed to pick that up, Mr. Drone Light Shows. You're supposed to pick that up and run with that.
Yeah, I was really quite impressed, and when that thing came out, I was flooded with messages from people, asking me, was it real? Because obviously there's been quite a lot of these fake ones. So people were saying, is this real? And I was like, yeah, it was real, because I know some people who were there. They sent me some video and whatnot, and yeah, it really was impressive. I thought it was a stunning, But again, these things can only happen in China. They can only happen in China because they can do it with minimum, let's say, buffer zone. Because when you're using 10,000 drones, the amount of space you need, is
just to put them on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking you need about 6,000 square meters, at least.
Well, then just the vans to bring them in there, and charging the batteries, and
if in China anything went wrong, you can guarantee next day all the video would be deleted, and anybody that saw it and was witness to the event would no longer exist.
Well, I mean, there have been those things happening in China where they have went wrong, and there has been video of it in falling on, all the old videos. So I mean, these things do get out. You never see rehearsals. That's the odd thing. You never see rehearsals. And of course, rehearsals happen from about 2 a.m. till 4 a.m, because that's because we do the same, because you try to avoid as much public as possible to avoid as much leakage in social media. But yeah, you didn't see much apart from the actual show itself, but it really looked impressive, and it was very, very precise. Now, what I found was very interesting, because that was part of a big festival that was happening in Shenzhen at that time. So there was like a 7-day festival, but there was supposed to be a couple of events happening in Hong Kong as well. And when that festival started, which was I think it was on the 7th of October, I think it was, or the 5th of, maybe it was the 7th of October. Shows were cancelled at the very last minute because there was supposed to be some space weather anomaly happening, and there was a loss of positioning. Now, that tells me, I'm reading between the lines, and that tells me that there was some competitors nearby who had some nice equipment who decided to interfere with the environment. and that happens quite a lot, actually, in Asia. That happens a lot, because a lot of the competition, if they know that you're flying, because you tend to, when you have these shows, you like to keep it as secret as possible so that the competitors don't know. But when the competitors do find out, they tend to come along and they tend to, want to interfere with your show.
I'm immediately looking to see if I can find a site that's going to tell me what dates we were, because we've had a big. I mean, back in. I actually saw. I went off and slept in the cave. I actually saw the Southern Lights.
Really?
So I've seen them. Yeah, saw the Southern Lights. I got up at 4 a.m, and then I thought, well, that's a bit weird. Oh, the sky's a bit red and funny. That's a bit strange. and then when I got back to the real world, it's like, that was the Southern Lights. So yeah, there's been some big. So that's very rare, because it's very rare here, because we're a long way north of the south. So yeah, that was about the 10th. When was I there? That was about then. So there have been big
but there
events.
has
Yeah,
been,
that's exactly when it was 10th. Yeah,
and we know that the KP levels. I mean, I've been flying. I mean, many people have been flying and stuff, and I know that there's certain drone delivery companies that like to avoid when they see the levels quite high. They like to avoid. But I've never seen it. I've been flying. I've actually been flying in the Northern Lights. I've been very conscious of the fact that could I lose here? And I think it was 8. I think it was level 8. I was flying. I never lost anything. I didn't have any interference. But of course, if you're using a mass amount of drones, of course, it's I've never had that before. But it really rings to me that 10 minutes before the show they say, "Oh, we can't do
space
it."
weather.
And and it's easy to say space weather is because I've done it myself. I've done it myself. I've said space weather, so that's why I think
there must be a degree of blanking if you're in the bottom of that formation. There must be from the rest of the formation. There must be a degree of GPS blanking for them.
Yes, there is. There is usually around the 70-meter mark. 70-meter and below mark is usually tends to be okay. Anything above that can be quite bad. Because you can have everything okay on the ground. It's the same when we get jammed as well. So if we get jammed by the Russians out here, it's usually the same thing as well. So 70 meters and above, that's when you see it. But even below that, and one of our guys, he was actually jammed on Saturday as well. Actually, so he was jammed on Saturday evening, and
wow.
it's because it's now happening a lot here. It's now happening a lot. It's
crossing the border, as it were.
Yeah. Well, deliberate. Oh, they're doing it on purpose. I think it's 12.
Yeah, deliberate attack.
I think it's 12 kilometer. What's the international waters from? Is it?
It's like 6 miles, isn't it? Yeah, 12. That'd be about right. Yeah. 6 miles, isn't it? That'd be about right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's 6 miles, and someone done the calculations between they were checking, the curvature of the Earth and stuff, and it was they were saying it was like 70 meters and above. That's exactly what we get, and we see that, and I think it was a month or so ago we were just flying just in one of the islands here, and we had 6 drones in the one area, and we got jammed at the exact same time, 8:30 in the morning. Boom! All drones lost GPS at that exact same moment, and we had to bring them down. And when every drone came down 70 meters and below, it got better. But that was no use to the client because we had to be because we had to be higher. So
yeah, it's a dangerous world out there.
it is.
And have you got when are your next pilots up here in Norway no longer required to report loss of GPS because jamming happens so frequently? Wow.
That's actually interesting. Actually, that's actually interesting because right now we are actually asked to report to our local authorities, so we have to make a flight report, or sorry, like an accident report, and but it might get to the point where it's the same as John saying there that you might not have to do it because it's just happened so much.
That's nuts, isn't it? That's absolutely nuts. So what else have we seen this week, boys, before we go? Because I am is this for all GPS GLONASS? Yeah, it would be. It wouldn't just be GPS. It would be all modes.
They don't do it to GLONASS. They don't do it to GLONASS. GLONASS is their own. But if you look at any of the current drones on the market, for example, anything from the Air 2, I think it is now, doesn't have GLONASS. So all your minis now and your Mavic, your Airs now, they all have Beidou, Galileo, GPS, and what's the other one?
What's he doing now?
He's
I'm
trying to
just being
Tech
I'm being distracted.
gadgets.
Let's get the new ones.
These are cool. I've got to talk about these. So you've got screens there. These are Sony panels, 1080p each, and they reflect down to here. So these are new glasses, kind of like the Apple things, but without all the expense. So these are just dirt cheap in comparison.
Temu, are they?
So I got these mentioned by someone that does shoots video. He's one of the Lumix ambassadors. And yeah, it's actually had quite a few problems with his eyes. He's like had a detached retina and that, and obviously age and all that lot. So he uses an EVF, but he said actually these are really cool. So you can use these USB-C, but there's also you can use them HDMI as an adapter. So you can essentially put these on, connect it to your camera, and then you can be viewing the camera. But what it's transparent down here, and in fact you can click it on and off. This is that glass where like you'll see in some hotels and that, or windows where you can it's completely opaque to transparent. So these can go completely black to darkness, or you can have it like this so you can see down at the ground at your feet. So you've essentially got a over 100-inch screen in front of your eyes.
What are these things called?
The brand is this one. It's worth checking out. Got some nice gear with it. So as I've been mainly ill for the last week with COVID, or very bad flu, whichever it was, I've been using these actually in bed. So lying down, put a movie on. They've actually got speakers built in as well, so you can actually hear what's going on. I'm watching that. But the nice thing as well is obviously if you stream off an Android device or your phone, you can connect your phone to this as well, Android or iPhone, and you can have a multi-screen display malarkey with the software as well if you want. But you can put your Bluetooth to your headphones with it as well if you wanted. So you can have the
$459.
I know, but that's nothing compared to when you look at your other stuff from Apple.
£459.
That is quite cheap, Gary. Come on, that's quite cheap.
Yeah, 1080p per eye.
This is all completely new to me. We just don't exist. You live in the brave new world.
So you can use it as a monitor. So I could actually be here instead, and you can have a virtual monitor that's bigger. So I could be doing all this.
So can you use them instead of a VR headset?
No, but the nice thing is these aren't half as chunky as a VR headset. You see, they're more like those kind of spy glasses you get. So they're thicker than obviously normal glasses, but they're not daft. So you can wear these for hours, and they're not uncomfortable. You got different nose things you can change there depending on your face. You can put it's actually got individual diopters per eye, so you can actually have quite bad eyesight and be able to use these normal. But you can get inserts done that are prescription as well if you're really, 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 really bad eyesight. But this here, it does go both ways. Diopter to having a really, really bad eyesight. So for most people, those would be fine out of the box. But I'm looking forward to giving us a test with the proper Lumix camera and doing that, because it'd be less weight to carry about, because it's like those straight into the HDMI. You power it with any USB, so you can do that if you DTAP or the USB output, and away you go. But I wouldn't recommend these as FPV goggles, because you've still got the light coming through the side of that. These are more conventional camera. You're wanting that instead of having a monitor or instead of having an EVF. But obviously, as I say, they have got the bonus. So, if you're one of those guys where your missus is always watching all the soap, so it's like Coronation Street, EastEnders, blah, 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 you can just be there going, this is fantastic. Yes. While you're playing Call of Duty.
I need them because my wife and daughter have just discovered Downtown Abbey. And I'm going and I'm going through hell at home. I tell you what, I'm going through hell. I need a pair of those.
Yeah, you need to start there with these on and just nodding occasionally and you'll be started. So yeah, that's why if you notice up there in the corner, you'll have seen the DJI Focus Pro has got. I flogged that to
Oh yeah,
fund
yeah.
fund this and
Yeah,
a new
yeah.
lens because for that it was putting a lot of extra weight onto my rig and that. I just thought this instead I can see clearly. I'll just go back to manual focusing. Everyone's a winner. Chicken dinner.
No,
It's just
an ounce of Downtown Abbey.
Downton, not
Downton,
downtown.
yeah.
Downton.
Is it, see, there you go. There you go. That's how much I don't care.
Yes, it's that's quite old now. I used to fly over that place all the time.
Johnny makes a good point actually. If you shop around eBay as well, I got mine for 409 quid, and the credit card I was using, I was having a deal on that time for Christmas. They give you 10% cash back. So I thought, sod it. So they cost me more like 350 quid. And you'll get the odd person still buying stuff and having to flog it. Although having said that, I was seeing these going second hand for more than that. And annoyingly, they were in the Prime Day deals, which I missed at the time. But I think I did all right anyway. On Amazon in the UK, they're about $490, but there is an eBay definitely close to 400 that's sending them out absolutely brand new. So shop around. And you can import them from the US anyway, but I didn't do that because you got to worry about still paying VAT and whatnot. So I don't know how much you'd really save.
Well, I didn't even know they were a thing. So it's lovely. The brave new world I'm missing out on. Now, think flight. Did you see the flock this week? I don't know. He's a something. There's a something occurring for Bruce. So we don't know what that something is. I hope he's all right. I hope all things are good. But it's a something.
I've seen him being grumpy on Twitter. You should definitely people there on Twitter give him a follow because if nothing else, it's amusing seeing him being grumpy. I like Bruce when he's grumpy.
Yeah, he's pretty direct, isn't he, with people? That's for sure. That is for absolutely sure.
Yeah,
all right. I was
going to say he spends a lot of his time on the FAA post replying to me. It's normally and then how many deaths have there been with the consumer drones? to everything.
Absolutely. Open HD or Open IPC could be handled with the HDR. Yeah, I suppose. Things like that flock booth at IACP. No, I didn't see the flock booth at IACP. In fact, I've seen very little from IACP, so I'm not quite sure what you're talking about there. So if you care to put that in the comments.
Drone thing anyway, haven't they? Their car insurance these days. If that is that,
it's different. Different flock, I think, in America.
Oh, one flock is there?
Different flock, yeah, different flocks. There are many flocks, and that's a different flock, I do believe. Look, I'm exhausted. I've been ill, like Ian was, so I definitely need to sleep. So if there's any more going once, I'll call looking fixed wing. Oh, okay, all right. I'll look for it and I'll make mention to it next week. Going once, going twice. Wherever you. Oh, here we are. There we are. You had to do it. Go on.
I was going to say there's one thing you probably should chat about because you've had it on SUAS News anyway, so I'll put it in the private chat. But, it was just interesting to see one of the UK drone teams, just Devon and Cornwall, have put a
the tender.
A tender up
out. Yes,
for somebody to design a fixed wing drone for them.
I've actually recommended them this to a Finnish company here.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think it's all going to go very well for them until let's go down where the capabilities. Here we are. So minimum flight control range of 5 kilometers. Yeah, I can do that. Must be less than 25 kilos. Yeah, I can do that. 2 hours. Yeah, we can do that. 12 meters a second. Yeah, we can do that. But what I'm pretty sure you'll be hard pushed to do is this bit, the IP rating. I think
Yeah.
that would be very for and all of this for this much money. I think that for £50,000, I think that'd be very hard to do.
I think it's worth
But we
adding.
shall
I think
see.
on LinkedIn, the impression was given actually they put this £50,000 thinking that's what it could fit in, but that isn't set in concrete. If the industry says, look, we just can't do it at that, but we can do it at this, they then reevaluate that. I think really it's just you have to come up with a figure initially, and they thought that was realistic, and if it's not, then I think that wouldn't be a problem. So that probably in itself isn't the deal breaker. It's just a case of can somebody meet all that.
What you mean there wasn't a massive amount of consultancy done, spending a hell of a lot of money to make sure that they get the right requirements for something like this?
Well, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And the other thing is the extra training and completely. We all know the difference between a multi-rotor and a fixed-wing aircraft. It's completely different mindset, almost. Well, not completely different, but it's okay. It can land and take off vertically, but it's going to be going away faster from them and doing things that they're not expecting when it's being a fixed wing. So they've got to factor in lots of training and stuff. But it's an interesting foray perhaps into the world of fixed wing for police.
I mean, we know that's the way it's got to go for police with drones, where you're having a genuine, sort of. I hate the word game changer, but it's that for your use cases. Because if you can have something that stays up for hours, it's the entire of a football match without bringing it down, and so more practicality. Doing something round about a traffic incident where you've got to monitor an area, and then this idea of if you can have things a bit more automated, where one goes up, comes down, another goes up, and you're keeping a continual ability over an area. See, I've never built a fixed wing. I mean, straight off, I did think IP rating will be a headache, but I don't know enough about that to know is that true, or are there some frames out there where they've solved it? I really don't know. And you've done a suggestion anyway, hadn't you, Gary? With something that was around about. Was it around about 10 grand-ish, where it was cube and
the Chinese, but that's where you wouldn't get. It's all the stuff we do here. I could easily show them how to build and do that sort of a thing. I mean,
I don't think
it's off the shelf simple.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything stopping them doing that. They just need a company to take it in, take responsibility for it, for the maintenance and whatever, and gives it as a product. And I'd mentioned with that, I think it's good for the police to, if you are going to have another platform, for it to be RG-Pilot, because once you learn that, you've got skills you can transfer to doing other robotics. If they want to have a rover or they want to have a sub, which, you could actually diversify your team and say, well, we're not just sticking stuff up in the air, but, if you have a car crash and it goes off into the water and you've got someone down there, before scuba teams got up there, you could have a sub that, and all those kind of things. And, having it with software you're already familiar with because it's on your fixed wing platform. But
exactly. It's a whole, it then takes you into being able to have your multi-rotors and your fixed wing using the same ground control station mission planner or Q ground control. It gives you a broader system of platforms. I'm not putting that very well. We become
it saves commonality as well, because you could buy the one ground station and bits and pieces, and that same one could then operate the drone and other kits without you having to have a separate one for each piece, and it's less kit to carry about as well then. And it's a good thing thinking about it. So I was thinking, obviously, if you've got RG-Pilot, you as a police force, if you were, because the police teams are limited to what your DJI does out of the box. So if you've got something you want to do that's pretty bespoke, you've got a use case, the software can't support that, but you could actually, you've got a few choices. You could actually pay RG Pilot, or if it was a mission planner thing, you have a word with Philip and pay for Michael's time to. You could actually code in bespoke stuff that supported the police, and also if police officer really wants to get themselves some brownie points, that they could actually use Lewis scripting and actually start writing some, flight modes or some more actual features that are bespoke to police requirement, and actually then share that out with other drone teams as well.
Yeah. No, it's. I'm sure it'll be the way that we'll go in the end. Is more fixed wing, but it's a start. It's a start for them, I suppose.
It is.
It's a start. Right, if I go 4 seconds, we can go. DVO, wherever you are, look after yourselves. See you next week, 2100. I've gone over. 2 seconds over. Never mind. Be careful out there, wherever you are in the world. Look after yourselves, and we'll see you next week, 2100 Gin and Tonic. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye. There we go.